But even our children in kindergarten, even our citizens who don't pay attention to some more difficult arguments, understand roads, bridges, and mass transit. They understand hard hat jobs. They see people every day laying bricks, pouring concrete, going to work at steel mills and, factories that produce the materials that build our infrastructure. They drive over potholes, Mr. President, all day long. They ride down the interstates with 18-wheelers whizzing by them in smaller cars because they're trying to be more fuel efficient, with their heart in their chest, with their children in the back seat, and they look up to Congress, to the House of Representatives, and say, where is our transportation bill? Now, this isn't a transportation bill that was written by one senator, voted on by a slim majority. This transportation bill that the House refuses to even consider was built by one of the more progressive and one of the most conservative members of this body. It was voted on almost unanimously out of committee, brought to the floor of the Senate just a couple of weeks ago, and received over 75 votes in a body that can't decide about our judges, really. We can't decide about the post office. We can't decide about oil and gas taxes. But 75 of us said, we are tired of running our highways and our transit on 90-day, 30-day, 60-day extensions. I think this is the 27th or 26th short-term extension since 2009. What kind of way is this to run a government? For the other side of this building that talks about let's put business practices to work, let's be more efficient in the way we operate, let's operate more like a business. Do you know, Mr. President, any business in America, large or small, that operates with a 90-day vision? Do you know one? I don't know one. I mean, I understand businesses have 6-month plans and year, but they always have like that 5-year long range. They might have 6-month goals. I don't know one business in America that operates on a 90-day plan. So here we are at the 9th hour again. We have a bill. We produced a bill. Now, if the House had a bill, I'm a centrist, so if the House had a bill, I'd be working with the middle of the road over there trying to say, well, this is what your bill does, this is what our bill does. Let's just, we can't have our way completely here in the Senate, although I'd like to have our way more of the time, but I understand. They don't have a bill, Mr. President. They don't have a bill to negotiate because they can't even get a bill together among the 3 committees of jurisdiction over there. But what I don't understand, what no one in the country understands, what the mayors are having a hard time understanding, the governors are having a hard time understanding, and businesses that operate in my state, represented by the Chamber of Commerce, the NFIB, and to mainstream alliance of small business, from the left to the center to the right, don't understand is how you don't have a bill at all, and you haven't been able to put one together we've now been in this Congress for a year and a half. You've had 1.5 years to put a bill together, and you've yet to come up with one. So we put one together that looks pretty good. I mean, it's no one that I know of from any group has said really anything really bad about our bill. I mean, it's pretty, plain, in one sense, that it's not changing the course of Western civilization. It's just trying to fund roads, bridges, and transit that are just fundamental to the operations not only of our government, but our economy, and frankly, the economy of the world. Because without highways, it's hard to import or export products. So this bill has impacts way beyond even America. So for the life of me, I cannot understand how the House of Representatives is going to leave and go on vacation and think they have done their job by giving us another 90-day extension. Now, I don't know what the leadership's going to do, but I want my vote recorded as no. I'm not going to hold up everybody here over the holidays, but I want to say, I want my vote recorded as no. I am not going to continue to support 30-day, 60-day, 90-day extensions to a transportation bill, which really, in the scheme of things, should not be that complicated to pass. There are other things much more controversial that we could be, really having very serious debates about. Building highways and roads and transit shouldn't be one of them. And we're hurting jobs. I hope the Gulf Coast members from Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida, and together, that's a pretty big coalition. I don't know the total number, but I think it's got to be over 75 members from Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida. I hope they would read the section of the transportation bill that talks about the Restore Act, because I've spent a great deal of time over here with my good friend and wonderful leader, Senator Shelby, with Senator Boxer, with over 300 organizations for over a year to build a bill that's now part of the transportation bill, that in addition to building highways in Florida and transit and roads in Alabama and Mississippi, will also, for the first time in the history of our country, first time, direct a significant portion of penalty money paid by a polluter, BP, that polluted the Gulf Coast. Good company in some ways, really messed up that well, though. Really messed up that well. And they just spilled gallons and gallons and 5 million barrels of oil. We have shrimp that are coming in our nets with no eyes. We have turtles that are washing up on our shores dead. We have research needs in the Gulf Coast that there's been no time in our history where we've needed that money more. So my question is to the Gulf Coast Republican members and Democratic members, what is it about this bill that is driving you so crazy that you can't accept $10 billion that the federal government's trying to give you? In a very infrequent show of bipartisan support and concern for the Gulf Coast, America's energy coast, understanding the great erosion that's taken place in the delta of Louisiana, which drains 40% of the continent, understanding that so much of our shipping and seafood industry relies on this coast, not that the other coasts are not vitally important, and the underinvestment that's been made. 75% of the Senate basically stood up and said, okay, let's redirect this penalty money to where the injury is. That is the Restore Act, and that's in the Senate bill that we sent over to the House, which they have absolutely just rejected. So I don't know what magic there is about this next 90 days, but I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to register my vote as no, and then I'm going to go home, and I'm going to work harder in Louisiana and along the Gulf Coast to explain to the people of our region how much is at stake by getting a longer-term transportation bill. 2 years maybe is not as long as we'd like to have, but it's better than 30 days, it's better than 60 days, it's better than 90 days. And I'm going to go ask and explain that not only is the transportation bill vital for Louisiana's project, but for approving the Restore Act, which I know that the House has indicated their support for. They have indicated a support for the concept of the Restore Act, but the act itself is in the transportation bill.